Hi, and welcome to Practice Makes Progress. This is my very first video, so forgive me if it's a work in progress. I have never done this before. So I just want to kind of do a video to accompany any of the posts I do, and I just kind of dove right in. My very first post was about something that's kind of near and dear to me. It's about acid reflux, which is a disorder that I was diagnosed with about 7 years ago, and something that is near and dear to me because I feel like I was kind of misguided. And I want to make sure that I kind of put the information out there that I've learned through years of research and kind of make it a little more accessible to people without having to do quite as much research. So, starting at the beginning, acid reflux is exactly what it sounds like. And if you've ever watched a Pepto-Bismol commercial, you're fully aware of what it means. It's acid, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea. All those symptoms are a sign of acid reflux. It's not just heartburn. It's all those other things that you feel kind of uncomfortable. And a lot of people associate it with after you eat a bad meal. Oh, I went out and I had like a big greasy burger and fries. Oh, I feel kind of lethargic. I got a little bit of heartburn. I'm gurgling a little bit. Yeah, that's true. When you that's acid reflux. So if you're unfamiliar with that, that is what it is. It is basically your body's inability to break down food properly, and therefore those food particles just kind of chill in your stomach, and then the body kind of forces it back up the esophagus, and it kind of just uncomfortably sits in this area with the acid from the stomach. It's also the body's it's telling you that there's something wrong with your esophageal sphincter, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's the opening at the bottom of your esophagus, right where it meets your stomach. To say that it's weakened is not to say that it's broken. Can it be? Yes. The likelihood of it being highly unlikely. Unless you've had an injury or a severe cough or something wild for a prolonged amount of time, it's probably due to poor eating. High fatty foods, high processed foods, things like that. The way they make your body feel overall, the way they make your brain feel kind of foggy and like, I need to take a nap, your esophageal sphincter is the same exact way. It wants to take a nap too. It doesn't want to do its job. It doesn't want to close back up and keep the acid from going back up into your throat and making you crazy uncomfortable. It wants to just relax, therefore allowing the acid to just flow freely throughout. So that's acid reflux. It is a chronic problem in America due to our Western diet. It's pretty common. Most people know what it is. How does it affect your body long term? So it seems like no big deal. You get heartburn, your friend gets heartburn, even from just having like 2 glasses of wine, you can get heartburn. There's a whole list of foods out there that your body just struggle a little bit to break down. And it affects your body long-term in the fact that when you have the signs of acid reflux, that your body is not breaking down foods completely and kind of your body's relaxing too much and allowing those foods to go back up versus being digested. Well, the whole point of eating and the whole point of breaking down food is to receive the nutrients from the food. First and foremost, before anything else, food should be fuel. So if you think about that, that would be like putting gas into your car, and as you're driving down the road, the gas just like spits out every now and then. Every now and then your car just has a hiccup and it just spits some of the gas out. Well, you just paid however much money for a tank of gas, and I'm sorry, for a tank of gas, and you're not using it all. Well, over time, that's going to add up. If you think about it in terms of money, you've paid for so much gas and you've only used so much gas, and you did not get to use the amount that you paid for. Well, that's pretty much how your body's treating it. You're putting so much fuel into your body and it's not getting the nutrients that you're giving it, whether you're eating poorly or whether you're eating great. If your body doesn't function correctly due to poor diet, processed foods, you're not getting the nutrients. And that was a problem that I had. So I myself was diagnosed, and my doctor immediately put me on a PPI, which we'll discuss here in a second. He put me on a PPI. It's a omeprazole. It's a well-known a well-known solver of the acid reflux epidemic. I think it's the number one medication for this problem. And I'm sorry, my dog is just wild. Shoo. And he put me on this medicine, and it did it. It did do a great job. The problem with medicines like that is, much like anything else that's unnatural that you introduce to your body gets used to it. And so you're not really solving the overall underlying issue here. You're kind of just getting rid of the really uncomfortable symptoms, which aren't helping you fix your habits. So something I learned more recently, I know I'm kind of hopping and skipping, but I promise to touch back on things. Something I learned more recently is that acid reflux is actually not a problem with having too much stomach acid, as it would seem. And because you have acid coming back up your esophagus, you assume, well, I just have too much. It doesn't know where to go. It's actually not true. That's a misconception, which was the title of this blog post. It's actually an indicator that you have too low of levels of stomach acid. You don't have enough. You don't have enough stomach acid to break down the fuel you're putting into your body and therefore absorb those nutrients that you need. So a lot of the time with people with acid reflux, you'll find that they have nutrient deficiencies, mineral deficiencies, things like iron, things like selenium, things like zinc, things like vitamin D, lots of deficiencies, because acid reflux is a sign that your body is not breaking down food properly. You also find it in a lot of people with poor diet, all very closely linked. So what happens when you have acid reflux? Acid reflux isn't something that just shows up on a blood test. You don't go in for your routine physical and your doctor tells you, oh, you have acid reflux. It's kind of you have to be aware of your body. You have to be proactive. You have to be aware that the gurgling and the burping or the nauseousness that comes with eating, which, hey, that shouldn't be normal, but trust me, I was there. It was my normal. I'll be uncomfortable for 30 minutes to an hour, but like, it'll be fine. And food is good. So like, who cares? But no, that's not normal. Food should make you feel good. It should give you energy. So if you're having these minor symptoms, go get checked out. A blood test isn't necessary. I myself had to scope. He was able to see the acid burns, like signs of burning in my throat, and sounds pretty intense. And he was able to help me. And for a long time, my doctor had me on a PPI, which is a proton pump inhibitor. So basically, it's fixing that esophageal sphincter issue. It's making sure that the pump is working and that it's keeping my acid levels low. Therefore, they can't regurgitate up into my esophagus. There have been recent studies saying that long-term use of these drugs is really bad, really unhealthy for the body. Much like any drug that you take for a prolonged amount of time. Come on, guys. Your body should be able to heal itself. You should be able to fuel it properly and heal it itself. But again, you're talking to a person who went through all of this. So I think PPIs are great on a short-term use. If you are highly discomfortable, absolutely talk to your doctor about it. They sell over-the-counter ones. They sell over-the-counter forms of omeprazole. They sell Tums. They sell Rolaids, all sorts of things that are similar to PPI products, similar products that will help reduce that acid. But the thing is you have to consider reducing acid is not your goal. Again, over-the-counter acid medicine does lower acid levels. And yes, that will make you more comfortable, but long-term, that is not your goal. Your goal is actually to eat foods and fuel your body in a way that increases your stomach acid levels, that makes it where there's enough to break down the fuel and absorb the nutrients properly and kind of get yourself into this cycle. Break down nutrients, body uses nutrients, body's healthy enough to keep levels high enough, put more fuel in, break it down, more fuel in, break it down. Duh, we know this. We learned this when we're little. But the problem is we're not doing it properly. So I just wanted to clear up that misconception because I wish someone had done it for me a long time ago. But that's not to say in the meantime that over-the-counter medicines aren't going to be helpful. But just know that long-term, It's not the route to go. You don't want to train your body or get your body accustomed to not developing enough acid to break down the foods you're eating. You don't want to get into a habit of popping more pills to solve a problem, because eventually it's not going to solve your problem. Something else I want to go into is trigger foods. So being somebody who previously struggled terribly with acid reflux, I want to talk about trigger foods because I feel like that's something that everyone talks about. Like, oh, I got diagnosed with acid reflux. I can't eat tomato-based products anymore. And like, that's true. Just like a PPI lowers the acid levels in your stomach to make you more comfortable, avoiding highly acidic foods kind of does the same thing. If you avoid highly acidic foods, yeah, like it's going to do the same thing. You are going to have lower levels of acid. Like you won't have as much to regurgitate. But the problem is reducing some of these foods like tomato-based products and garlic and onions and peppermint. These are healthy things, guys. If you're having to avoid these foods, unless you have an allergy, but if you're having to avoid these foods because you have acid reflux, that's a sign that your body needs to be healed. That's a sign that your body is broken in some way or form, which most of ours are. But trigger foods. So something I wanted to discuss is that long list of trigger foods and kind of what my opinion is on them. Not that it really matters to you, but maybe it'll help. So I listed them in the blog. Trigger foods are things like coffee. That includes caffeinated and non-caffeinated, decaf. It's the coffee itself. So it's in the bean. It's in the makeup of the food and the breakdown process. It is kind of like a fatty food. And think about it. We all love coffee. If it's something you really love, it's probably doing something. So caffeine causes your esophageal sphincter to relax, therefore opening the gateway to acid coming back up. So just be aware, yes, coffee of all forms, caffeinated, decaf, cause acid reflux. Kind of going off that, relaxing your body, that's that fatty processed foods, deep fried foods, it's going to do the same thing. If it gives you a feeling of lethargy, then your body's probably processing it the same way. There's a reason it's making it all the way to how your brain feels. Citrus fruits seems pretty common. Citrus acidic. They are acidic foods. And juices, along with tomato and tomato-based products. That includes marinara and pasta sauce and ketchup and anything, well, loosely, ketchup, anything that has tomatoes in it. Highly acidic. Carbonation. And that goes into beer. I think a lot of the time people assume like it's one or the other, and I'm not sure why, but beer, soda, diet soda, sparkling water, it doesn't matter. Carbonation, Fresca, LaCroix, like, no, I'm sorry. For a little while, that carbonation is just, it's not going to make you comfortable. It's not going to damage you, but it's not going to make you comfortable. And then I was getting into those ones I was naming a minute ago, the peppermint, the garlic, the onion, the chocolate. So these are things, well, not so much chocolate, but garlic, peppermint, and onion, those are things that you shouldn't have to avoid, kind of like tomatoes, kind of like fruits. These are signs that, hey, my body's not processing this because something's wrong. And so while I highly suggest avoiding these foods while you're trying to solve the problem, don't avoid these foods like a death sentence. Don't approach it as, I have acid reflux, I can't enjoy good things, because I love beer and LaCroix and chocolate and garlic. I love all of these things too. I love pizza with tomato sauce on it. So don't view it as a death sentence. View it as if I can solve the underlying problem here, I can have these foods again. I myself spent a year to a year and a half avoiding these foods. I didn't have coffee for, I think, 2 years, which blew everybody's mind. But is it doable? Absolutely. There are other ways around it. There are teas without caffeine and lots of other things that are very similar, and you kind of learn how to approach it. And the longer you avoid these foods and the more you can focus on kind of what your issue is and helping your body to develop those acid levels again, the sooner you can slowly and kind of one at a time reintroduce these foods into your diet. I eat these foods now with next to no issues, next to no acid reflux, when maybe 5 years ago, they would have me laying on the couch with my head propped up, just dying with burning and gurgling and stomach aches and all sorts of stuff. So trigger foods, that's coffee of any sort, decaf, caffeinated, citrus fruits and juices, garlic, peppermint, onion, chocolate, carbonation of any sorts, and then fatty, spicy, processed foods. So, all the things in life we love. So I'm going to kind of end here. I know this went way longer than I anticipated, but I'm going to kind of end here with a recap. So acid reflux, it's the body's inability to either keep the esophageal sphincter from relaxing, or it's the body's inability to produce enough stomach acid to properly break down food to absorb nutrients. Acid reflux can lead to nutrient deficiencies, which is really important long term. Acid reflux can be treated over the counter. It can be treated with a prescription from your doctor for a proton pump inhibitor that can help lower those stomach acid levels to a more comfortable range. Paired with eating less trigger foods will make you more comfortable, but it will not solve your problem. And that is so important to understand. Taking a PPI or avoiding trigger foods for the rest of your life while not changing anything else is never going to solve your acid reflux. And again, I just listed those trigger foods and they're listed on the blog as well. So go back and check them out if you're not sure. I also listed a few things at the very end, just a couple of non-food related things to make you more comfortable. Sleeping with your head slightly propped up so that acid doesn't just flow freely back and forth. It's kind of forced downward, gravity. And then what was the other one I listed? Eating slower so that food has time to properly digest. So even if your stomach levels are lower, it's at least not just bombarding your stomach with too much food. Your stomach actually, if you give it too much food, if you overeat, it will actually stop breaking the food down and it will just hang out there. And when it doesn't know what to do with it, it actually will push particles back up as part of the acid reflux. So overeating and eating bad foods, poor dieting and overeating, horrible, horrible causes of acid reflux. I'm telling you, I used to do it a lot. I still do it every now and then. But eat slower. Let your body break down the food. Treat your body like you love it because it's you. Sleep with your head slightly propped up. And the last one, this one is so hard for me. It's still hard some days. Try to stop eating at least 2 hours before bed. Kind of goes with that digestion thing again. Notice acid reflux and digestion are 100% linked. They are cause and effect. So try and stop eating 2 hours before bed. That way your body has more than enough time to break down foods to the best of its ability. Sleep with your head slightly propped up. And hopefully through a little bit of work, you can eventually solve this problem and these tidbits won't be necessary anymore. In my next post, I'm going to kind of talk about what to do next. So I'm sitting here telling you like, hey, don't take pills forever, but I haven't really told you like, what can you do? Yes, one day you can reintroduce trigger foods, but how do you fix your body? So my next post is going to kind of go into more holistically, how to solve the acid reflux problem, how to kind of find the root of your problem, how to address those low stomach acid levels, and how to eventually maybe kick it all together. So I hope you enjoyed my first post. I hope to do this at least once a week. My name is Megan, and if you ever have any questions, please feel free to comment or send me a message personally. All right.